as they get here, if they get here. All right, everybody. Please forgive my living human background. I'm actually in Maui right now on vacation. And so I just don't have anywhere. You're literally piled on top of clothes right now just to get a better angle. So if disaster happens, that means my computer slid off my clothes. So let me ask this, right? Because there's just a few of you here right now. Do you have anything you'd like to talk about tonight? Any question you have about life or your practice or anything like that at all? You know, when you guys ask questions, it stimulates a flow that kind of opens doors and allows me to talk about things that maybe wouldn't come up otherwise. If you don't, it's okay.
Lee and I have a question.
Awesome.
I don't know if it's really about meditation, but like, how can you be on vacation right now in Maui hosting this session? Like, it's so incredible that how you made it so, like, just such an essential component in your life. Like, this is just remarkable that you are on vacation and still hosting this.
So people who have been here for years wouldn't be surprised, but just for the recording, the question is, how are you on vacation hosting this? Why would you make this that central? Here's the thing, right? You're gonna find that this sort of practice, nothing in life asks it of you. Okay, all life ever asks you to do is spin deeper and deeper into entropy. You know, at some point, you know, I left the place where I was training and was on my own. And if you're not careful, you will skip one day, then 2 days, then 3 days. And it happens so slowly, actually, that you barely even realize it, but you just start to backslide and backslide and backslide. And at some point in your life, if you really, and it's not something that usually happens in your first year of learning this, right? We're not looking to form a militia. But at some point in your training, when you have gone for it and then given up for a while, gone for it and then given up for a while, you get to a place where you realize one way works and one way doesn't. You come to realize that this actually keeps you awake in a way that nothing else does. It keeps you making the right choices for yourself, not just your exoteric choices, like not just the right choices in your life, but at a core level, those little shifts in attention that can drag you down really negative roads, really self-defeating roads. Like what it actually takes to stay walking forward every single day is this level of discipline. So for me, I always looked at it like this. Most people will tell you what their priorities are, but they're usually kind of full of it, Most people, if they were to list their priorities, they would put their spiritual life very high on that list. And that's important because, again, nothing in life is asking you to do any of this, right? It's actually asking for the opposite. It's asking for you to spin around, get stressed out, please a bunch of horrible people, and, just accept your misery. You get to a place where if you were to make that list and put that at the top, you would realize it's a lie. And the way you would realize it's a lie is because someone like me would basically tell you, okay, now I want you to make a list where you look at what actually keeps you from practicing in any given day. What actually won over that. And it's usually something stupid. It's usually a TV show. It's usually just I'm kind of tired. It's usually just I had a bad day. You know, it's a bunch of things, like a bunch of unnecessary comforts that you put above that, and you do it to try and get just a little bit of good feeling. But in doing so, you sell out a lifetime of good feeling. You sell out a lifetime of just the sanity that comes when you actually have some control over this, you know, ball of water we call a brain. So that's why I do it. It's because I've fallen down enough times to know what a slippery slope that is. You know, if I were to not come to class today because I was on vacation, then at a deep level, my body would go, okay, sometimes I don't have to do this. You know, your body's always listening. Your subconscious is always listening. And it's not listening to your words. Words are cheap, okay? The subconscious actually speaks in symbols. So what is that symbol like? Well, it's imagery. You know, the subconscious actually sees me here on my vacation going, of course I'm going to teach a class, right? It sees you going up when nothing in you wants to your meditation cushion and just sitting there and sucking at meditation for 20 minutes. You know, it sees you do that, and what happens is over time, that deep part of you that's fighting it stops. That deep part of you, that subconscious part of you, is more responsible for your life than you usually realize. Okay? Everything in your world is built out of what you say yes to and what you say no to. Everything. And so you usually can't control that for long through sheer willpower. You know, it doesn't really work that way. You have to go in through a back door. And that back door is just how you arrange your life. You know, what do you show up for? What moments do you say no to it in? And why? Your subconscious is going to go, okay, that's more important. I can say no when that happens. As someone who's been teaching this for 20 years plus, I can tell you I've seen so many people leave and come back, leave and come back, leave and come back. And the way that works is they get to a point where they're really practicing and really doing the work, and they're feeling better than they've ever felt in their entire life. You know, it's like things are finally working. All of life is responding to them differently. And suddenly there's just like, well, it would be really inconvenient to have to go do this. You know, maybe I'm good for a while. And so they stop coming. And they are good for a while because they've stored up a lot of just awareness and consciousness. But little by little, every single day it trickles backwards, 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 backwards. My teacher had a saying that went something like, there is no such thing as standing still. If you're standing still, you're just getting ready to go backwards. You know, you're just getting ready to de-evolve. You either are going to make a choice for forward movement, or any other choice is backwards movement. So I would see people make this choice, and I understood it because I do it too. I mean, it's not a blame game. But what would happen then is a year later, they would always come back. So their life's good for a while, then it sinks, and then maybe they're back in their stress. But usually they have to go even a little further down than that before they come back, because they feel weird about coming back, as if I'm sitting here, you know, worrying about it. But usually when they come back, they're in some kind of dire strait in their life, and they're just looking for a little peace, and they remember a time when they had it. And so that game of lunging forward and falling back, lunging forward and falling back, is an important phase, and it's fine for you to go through it, okay? There's no judgment here. Blow me off for a year and come back if you want. It's totally fine. Or find someone else for a while and go down that road. You know, I'm not here to own anyone. But at some point, you will have learned what you can learn from constantly having to climb back out of the mess. And when that happens, there's this realization, and the simplicity of it is one way works and one way doesn't. You know, not one technique, certainly not one teacher, but that choice to steep yourself in reality, that choice to step outside of the story and just be wide awake with what's left. That's what works. That's why we've been teaching it for thousands of years, right? For thousands of years, people have been saying all the things you're trying to get by doing all these other things actually can't be found there in a lasting way. You can only really get it by letting go of the need, and then you find it's all right there. All those feelings you want to feel. So that's the answer to your question. Like, how can I show up on my vacation? Because I know that if I don't, something fundamental will have shifted in me at a deep level. And at some point, you know, in shamanism, we call it being a spiritual warrior. You just take deep responsibility for those deepest parts of yourself, and you make those choices. Plus, for your students, I think it's an important example. You know, if I don't have to do it, why should you ever get to a point where you do it? So that's what this looks like. We might have a slightly shorter session today. I don't know. I'm just feeling that out. But that's everything in life. You know, if you want to go from being someone who sits on a couch to being a runner, you have to actually run. And every day you don't run, you're telling your brain, I'm not a runner. I mean, that's a bad analogy because you should take days off of running, but it's just how it works. And you mess it up enough times, you just come to see it. Any other questions? All right, guys. So let's just take a deep breath. Place your attention at the forehead and crown. And we haven't talked about this in a while, but I want you to just see if you can let your eyes take in the entire environment at once. It's a soft focus, where you're looking ahead of you, but you're not hard focused on any one thing. And I want you just to be in this moment that way. Watch your breath while you take in everything all the way through your periphery with your eyes. And just be present for that picture all at once. You're going to have to relax in order to do it. This positioning of the eyesight is a way for you to bring your meditative state into your daily life so that you can practice it if you're walking down a street, walking down a hall, you're attentive without directing the attention. want you to start to just notice how the act of doing that, if you're really relaxing, actually on its own creates a feeling here and here. It just brings your awareness higher into your body. To stay in that space, you need to focus and let go at the same time. That balance point between alertness, focus, and relaxation and letting go is a major key to mastering meditation and spiritual awareness in general. That's good. Can you feel how in that space your breath starts to find its own rhythm? Before, you were breathing according to your agitation. But now there's a patience to it, an expansiveness. For anyone who just came in, we're focusing at the forehead and crown, and we're letting our eyes take in the entire environment, not hard focusing on any one thing. We've been doing it a few minutes, and just after a few minutes, I can feel the whole group has quieted down. This is a place of no obstruction. All the floodgates open, and energy can just flow freely through your body and mind. A place where there's nothing to manipulate, nothing to conjure into existence. It's all just allowed to flow. But your eyes are open, and so you can participate with the world around you. And you'll find your balance. You'll find your way of doing that without looking like a zombie. But first you have to practice it. You have to get it into your nervous system. see it all at once. Grasp at nothing. And while you do that, bring in your sense of hearing. Listen from the depth of your being to the entire world around you, all at once. Nothing to push or pull. It's a letting go. So that you have more of your awareness available to you in this moment. On some level, you can even hear the clouds blowing overhead. Can you stretch yourself to really listen, given to your reach like a flower reaching for the sun? To see something big, you have to make yourself small. How quiet can you be? Now, as you're seeing it all at once and hearing in all directions, bring in your feeling. Feel your skin. feel out into the world around you. Nothing to pretend. Just completely available. Be so given to your reach that there's nothing left inside of you. Completely empty, given. And just stay in that state of reach. I'm going to be quiet for a little bit, and I want you to give yourself to that reach. Sight, sound, hearing, touch. Take it all in. Stick with it. This will cleanse layers of you don't even know you have. But it only works if you give 100%. 99% won't do it. It'll just feel like lack. Leave nothing in reserve. You can do it. Let it open you. If you can relax, you can really enjoy the benefits of this. Let go of your heart. Let go of your gut. Set those parts of your body free so that it can be in resonance with this feeling of release. This release within full wakefulness. Stay in your body. Don't drift off. You want that power to accumulate here. Not in some vague dream world. Okay. So now we're going to practice fluctuating a little bit. So I want you to let yourself come out of that state. Hard focus. Listen to my words. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what you're doing. It's kind of like creating a sword. You know, when you temper a sword, you put that sword into fire. And in putting that sword into fire, it becomes more expansive. Everything can move, everything is bendable, everything is flexible. All that rigidity becomes loosened. And then you take it out of the fire. But because it's now out of the fire, you can pound it into different shapes. And so you do that, and then it starts to get so cool that it loses its malleability. You can't fix it. And so you put it back into the fire, and it expands again and becomes something that can become anything. You know, first it's in this hardened shape, and then through that expansion, it can be altered. It can be changed for the better. And you take it out of the fire, and as it slowly comes together, you can work with it. And then you put it back in, and you do that over and over again. That's what this practice is like. You step into the fire, and that is stepping into expansiveness. You let go of absolutely everything. And in that state, nothing's wrong. Nothing's wrong because the stories that were so hardened around you have been opened up and left behind. Their memory is still there. That shape still exists within you, but you have consciously stepped out of it. When you come back down, you can make some choices for where you're going to place your attention. You can have moments of cognitive reframing, things that allow you to come together in a better form. And then you can step back in again, open wide back up, and then take yourself out of the fire and let yourself reform into a slightly different position, one a little more functional with your current moment. Most of our hardened forms are coming from things that happen to us in moments that have nothing to do with what your life is right now. So a big part of meditation is stepping into that fire so that you can become more malleable. Some people try and make spiritual life about abandoning life altogether. Personally, I think it's better to go back and forth, only to do it intelligently and wide awake, so that you can make choices. So now, let's go back into the fire. We're going to go back and forth a couple of times, and I want you to feel what it feels like to consciously move from one to the other. Soft focus your eyes, listen to everything all at once, and step back into a place of unconditional reach right now. Let your breath find its natural rhythm, and that energy will start opening again. But stay in your body. Let go of everything I said and keep expanding. It's all in there. You're not going to lose it. If you relax a little bit, you'll be able to expand more. You can almost feel that moment when you click into that place of unconditional reach. Okay, now lose it on purpose. Come back down, hard focus. Think about something like your job or some difficult person. And just step back down into normal consciousness. Now, let go and go back into the place of reach. Use your breath to guide you. You know where that place is. You were just there. Go as if you're never coming back. Leave nothing on the table. Now this time, gently come down just a little. See if you can experience some nuance. Just let yourself hard focus on some aspect of your life. Just hold back the reach a little bit so that you can look at something. Pick anything. And now let it go and give yourself back into your reach. Let your breath guide you back into unconditional stretching. let go even more. Those areas of you that pull you into hard focus are parts of you that are kind of like an insect stuck in a web. A process like this is how you get free from the web. Can't just pretend you're not stuck. You have to step into it, work with it, release. Step into it, work with it, release, expand. And be able to maneuver. Be able to maneuver between this polarity of absolute expansiveness and absolute dense stuckness. This ability to expand at will is a huge part of our inner maturity. It means when there's a dysfunctional part of ourselves that's stuck, we can actually do something about it. Not through rejection, but just through awareness. Being able to move in consciousness. It keeps you open so that you always have your wits about you. You aren't looking inward at a story, and so you can see everything outward that's around you. That ability to densify, to come down to the web and attend to something. It's one of the most important tools in the human tool belt. But most of us are just stuck in the web, and so we build a life around our stuck point. And we just kind of reach, trying to work with the things that are within our reach. Any real growth requires the ability to move. The ability to rearrange, recompose ourselves. First, you have to be able to let it all go. And when you can do that, you can play with the nuances between completely released and focusing purposefully on something. Focusing purposefully on something is concentration. The ability to step into that release is meditation. And the two go hand in hand. They are how you build your life. And you'll be unhappy to whatever extent you can't do that. You'll feel victimized. We all have our stuck points. I have some too. But this is how you work with it. Any questions about any of that before we close up for the night? Is there anything I said that you didn't understand what I meant? So many people, when they deal with spiritual life, they make it all about like a teaching in a book. But that's not where it is. You have to actually put yourself through the movement of it. It's a skill. And what you're actually really learning is how to be you. Right now, you know how to be what everybody wants you to be. You know how to live out everyone's expectations or offend everybody by not living out their expectations. You know how to fit into all their stories. But if you guys are showing up here, that means it's time for you to really learn how to be you outside the realm of stories. And you are consciousness. And the more you go back and forth, the more your personal life of stories becomes something you tell consciously. Doesn't mean you'll never have problems. Doesn't mean you'll never have anxiety. But at any given moment, you can sit down and work with it just like this. All right, guys. And thank you, Lynn. I'm glad you had a good experience.
Great session, Liam. It was like calisthenics for the mind.
Absolutely. It is definitely calisthenics for the mind. And you become stronger that way. You know, it's not about living in a constant trance state. You know, it's more about moving through your life, knowing where you are on that spectrum and moving as you have to. And then taking time every day to let go of all of it so that you can actually decide who you want to be. Okay, everyone. Thank you, and I will see you in a week. All right, I'll see you next Thursday. Have a good week.